Philosophy of classical yoga. The six scriptures have accepted most of the physiology of Samkhya yoga. Man is considered to be a blend of Purusa and Prakriti, although the relation between them is described in the light of Sikh doctrines in which God is the supreme creator and destroyer. The prana shakti is accepted as a vital force of life and plays an important part of the theory and practice of Sikh mysticism. The existence of Kundalini is accepted as a fact, but the Hatha yoga techniques or mudras employed to awaken it are strongly reproved as dangerous. Kundalini can easily be awakened through prana japa, Simran, Kirtan, and Satsang, meditation on the divine name and its sempiternal repetition, abandonment to divine music and song, communion with truth through holy men, and mental association with exalted spiritual life. The Sikh gurus also accept the existence of the 72,000 nadis or nerve channels, which are also called the house, gar, because the spirit is supposed to reside and work through them. Ida, Pingala, Susana nadis are frequently mentioned when the inner mystic experiences are described. They are also called the Ganga, Yamuna, and Sarasvati. The first two are also called Surya and Chandra channels. The conjunction of Ida, Pingala, and Susmana is called Triveni. The division of the inner being of man into 9 regions, Navagara, dominated by the 10th region, Dasamdura, or Tiriya, the 4th superconscious state, is accepted as the experiences of Anhata Nada are vividly and repeatedly described in 6 scriptures. The chakras, circles, discs, usually translated centers, are recognized as lower seats of cosmic energy existing in the latent state. The physiological findings of Samkhya yoga thinkers are accepted by Guru Nanak very much as philosophers and historians accept scientific data nowadays. The gurus accepted the Samkhya yoga physiological data to the point that they could be verified. There is much they have ignored. Yogis in Guru Nanak's time. There was a tremendous influence of yogis on the religious and cultural life of India in the 15th and 16th centuries. This is quite apparent from the fact that no other school of thought is so often mentioned in the writings of Kabir and Guru Nanak as the yogis are. Most all of the medieval saints vigorously commented on yoga and yogis, and this confrontation with the yogis continued even in Sikh history up to the time of Guru Gobind Singh. The 12 sects of yogis exercised vast influence on the country from their monastic centers called Siddha asanas or Siddha ashramas, which also became great centers of pilgrimage. Most of these centers were named after Gorkha and his companions, and sometimes after Shiva. The asceticism and renunciation of the yogis, their display of yogic feats and occult powers, their magic and mysticism attracted every Indian from a king to a beggar. The genuine seekers and the pretenders of yogic powers went from village to village, from door to door all over the world, preaching cynical contempt of the world and mystifying their life and doctrines. Guru Nanak strongly felt the disastrous influence of the yogis on Indian society. To counteract their unworldly, unhealthy, antisocial, and anti-human influences, Guru Nanak visited almost all the strongholds of the yogis to give to their leaders a new direction of life and outlook. He went there to enlighten them as they were doing tremendous harm to the society and Indian civilization in their unquestioned zeal to do good to individuals in the name of yoga. He admired their courage, their singleness of purpose, their thirst for knowledge, their passion to know God through inner knowledge and experience, but he strongly criticized their pessimism, their cynicism, their contempt for society and women, and their dangerous and selfish individualism. From Gorkamata in the north to Ramasvaram and Jaffna in the south, and from Kamrup to Kabul, he visited all the centers of the yogis. He even went to the inaccessible Himalayas, the summer Parbat mountain, to exact location of which is given by Al-Biruni as northeast of Kailash, and he opened discussions with them. Most of these discussions and comments on their questions have been recorded by Guru Nanak in his writings. His Siddha Goshti dialogue with the Yoga Siddhas alone has 23 questions and answers. Whenever he met the yogis, his discussions with them led to an overwhelming victory of his philosophical and mystical doctrines over the views of the yogis. The proud and power-conscious yogis were not only humbled, but they accepted Guru Nanak as their master, and the age-old names of such strongholds of the yogis as Gorkha Mata were changed to Nanak Mata or Nanak's shrine. Baigar Das highlights this historical fact when he says, quote, Guru Nanak met all Siddhas, Nathas, and followers of avatars, and after discussions made them realize the futility of their doctrines. God and Yoga and Sikhism. Yoga affirms the existence of God. This God is not the creator, sustainer, and destroyer of the universe. He is the Ishvara, the immanent spirit, Spinoza's God, whose manifesting world is Om. He is not transcendent Akal Pashura of Sikhism, but a Puryasa who has been since eternity. He cannot be summoned by prayer, devotion, and faith, but his collaboration can be acquired by a yogi for his inner life. Isvara can hasten the presence of deliverance. He helps them towards a more speedy arrival at Samadhi. Isvara's role is comparatively small. Patanjali says that Isvara was the guru of the sages of time immemorial, for he adds Isvara is not bound by time. Thus, Isvara for Patanjali is only a macro yogin, later on called Adinatha or Adishiva. Later, commenters on Patanjali like Veskapatari Mishra and Vijna Bhiksu accord Ishvara's great importance. This is perhaps because when they lived, India was full of mystical devotional currents. Nalakanatha holds that God, though inactive, helps yoginis like a magnet. He gives a will capable of predetermining the lives of men. The word Ishvara Prandanahan occurs 4 times in the Yoga Sutra, namely in 1.23, 2.9, 2.1, 32, and 45. Dasgupta thinks that the meaning of the word is not uniform in the Yoga Sutras, for whereas in 1-23 it stands for love, homage, and adoration of God, in subsequent portions it means bestowal of all our actions upon God. For Guru Nanak, it is God for whom all come, who loves and lives in all human beings, and who is the final refuge of all men. Though himself ever distinct from his creation, he yet pervades all that he has made, for apart from him nothing could exist. He is unseen yet revealed. He knows our needs, and his every act is for our welfare. At his binding religions arise, prophets speak out his will to men, and at his binding and according to his will, civilizations evolve and are destroyed in various cycles of challenge and response. All the 6 scriptures are replete with this conception of God. Both in Patanjali's Yoga and in Sikhism, the world is real and not illusory, as in the Vedanta. In Yoga, the world exists because of the ignorance of the spirit, but in Sikhism it exists because of the creative and sustaining will of God, called Hukum or Amar, terms borrowed from the Quran. In Yoga, when the last self shall have found its freedom, the creation in its totality will be reabsorbed into the primordial substance. In Sikhism, creation and dissolution depend on the will of God. He need not wait for any such point of spiritual evolution anticipated by yoga.